Well, good Sunday morning, everyone. Are you ready for this? It is September. September the 6th. Can you believe that the summer is almost in our rearview mirror? I don't know how you feel about that, but if you're anything like me, you're not sad to see the summer go. It's not that I'm wanting to wish my life away, and I know you're not wanting to wish your life away either. It's going by fast enough. But you're kind of getting tired of 2020. And you know, just like I do, that with every passing day, we are one day closer to the end of this pandemic and this bizarre year, and one day closer to normal. Now, I don't know when it's going to be. I don't know when full normalcy will return, but I do know one thing. With each day, we're one day closer to it. And so I am so glad about that. Oh, well, anyway, thanks so much for joining me for Bible study today as we continue to take a look at the book of Proverbs. And if you're joining us for the first time, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope that when these 30 minutes or so are over, you're going to be so glad that you did and that you're going to want to tune it back in any and every time and study with us. It's been, as far as I'm concerned, a great study. Not because I'm teaching it. It's been a great study because this is a great book. The book of Proverbs is one of my favorite, no doubt. And the older I get, the more I can appreciate the contents of this extraordinary book. Well, if you've got your Old Testaments, and I want you to have those Old Testaments, and I want you to open them to Proverbs chapter 9. We left off at we got through chapter 8 last time. We left off here at the beginning of chapter 9. We've been pretty much taking a chapter per class session. But last week we covered 2 chapters. This week we're going to do the same. We're going to cover chapter 9 and we're going to cover chapter 10. And so with that in mind, let's do it. Let's take a look at chapter 9. Chapter 9 really brings the first section of the book of Proverbs to a close. And in this first section, as it closes, it's closing by setting before us a choice. It's calling for us, it's appealing to us to make a choice, calling to us to choose. We find ourselves at a crossroads, and there's 2 roads to take. And what chapter 9 is all about, it's saying you got to make a choice. Now, here are your 2 choices, and it's presented this way in Scripture. It's presented as one way has an appeal of woman wisdom. Wisdom is personified as a woman. It has been already in the book, and you're going to continue to see that motif. So you've got woman wisdom saying, let me tell you about my direction. And then you've got verse 13, the woman of folly. Woman folly. Woman wisdom, woman folly. Both are saying, listen, choose my course. And you do have to choose. The responsibility is you. The responsibility lies with me. And so let's take a look then at the appeal of woman wisdom to choose her course. And then we'll take a look at woman folly's appeal to choose her course. Okay. Wisdom has built her house. Let's just read the first few verses. Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. I don't know what that really means. I don't think anybody really knows, but it could be, I think, probably the most, the most appealing explanation to me is that the number 7 is often used in literature and in the Bible as a number of perfection and completion. And so the idea here is maybe a complete house. It, again, is showing her efficiency. It is showing her commitment to do things right and proper. She started a house. She finished a house. She's prepared the house. The house is perfect. And then it says she's prepared her food. Verse 2, she's mixed her wine. She set her table. And so when you kind of consider verse 2 with verse 1, the idea seems to be everything is in order for a guest. Not just the food and the table, but the house as well. You know how that goes when you're having guests over. Got to vacuum. Got to pick up the house. Got to move the clutter. We don't want people to think that we actually have clutter in our house. And so we run it into the bedroom and we pile it on top of the dresser. I've just given away my secret when I have people over. that's where you will find all of the clutter. And so it's preparing the house. So get the house ready. Get the table ready. The meal ready. Send out the maidens. She sent out her maidens in verse 3. She calls from the top heights of the city. And here's what she says. Verse 4. Whoever is naive, let him turn in here. To him who lacks understanding, she says, come, eat of my food and drink of the wine I have mixed. Forsake your folly. Don't go down that route. Forsake your folly and live and proceed in the way of understanding. My way offers life. The invitation here, look at this. Whoever is naive, let him turn in here, verse 4. It's an invitation to change. It's, if we'll follow her route, if we'll take that road, the road of wisdom, we're going to learn and we're going to be trained. And the benefits are we're going to live. In other words, our life is going to be blessed. Our life is going to be enhanced. It is going to be more peaceful. There is going to be greater and deeper contentment and lasting happiness. We're going to succeed in various arenas of life, whether it's personal relationships, our marriage, a relationship with our family, the relationship with our community. We're going to succeed in the area of personal finance. We're going to be able to manage our resources for the benefit of our family. All of this. And ultimately, we're going to thrive in our relationship with God. So if we choose wisdom, this course, we're going to live. That's the invitation. Come my way. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to train you. You're going to learn. Now look at verse 7. He who corrects a scoffer gets dishonor for himself, and he who reproves a wicked man gets insults for himself. Do not reprove a scoffer, or he will hate you. Reprove a wise man, and he'll love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he'll be wiser still. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase his learning. And that's what woman wisdom wants to do for us. She's saying, turn my way. Demonstrate that you're wise by following after me. And you're going to get understanding. You're going to get wiser still. You showed wisdom by choosing my course. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to train you and I'm going to build up the wisdom that you already possess. And it's going to result in life and understanding. But look at this, a few things right here. Let me point out real quick there in verse 7. He who corrects a scoffer gets dishonor for himself. Reproves a wicked man gets insults for himself. Don't reprove a scoffer. He's going to hate you. It's a reminder that, some people aren't ready to receive instruction. They're not ready to learn. They're not coachable. And I think all of us who've lived have enough years behind us, we found ourselves doing this at times, trying to teach somebody, give them counsel, trying to point them in the right direction, trying to bless their lives. And what we get in return is either through words or tone or body language, we basically get insults. We know nothing. They know everything. And when someone is like that, you just have to recognize the temperature in the room and quit beating your head against the wall. Because a scoffer will not learn. Everyone is not teachable. Yet it makes sense to you. And yet you scratch your head and go, how can someone not see this? Oh, it happens all the time. There are people who can't see what is so obvious to the wise. And so it's a warning against this. Some people are never going to listen. Some people are never going to learn. And trying to teach them is just going to frustrate yourself, bring harm to yourself. That's all it is. That's what's going to happen. It's the truth. Okay, take a look at it. Verse 10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Teaching wisdom apart from a covenant relationship with God is impossible. Now, what I mean by that is, when I say teaching wisdom, it doesn't mean someone who rejects God can't learn anything useful and helpful in life. They can. But the point here is that if you want the fullness of wisdom, if you want the fullness of life, then you can't have that apart from a covenant relationship with God. Because even if you excelled in this life, if you didn't have a relationship with the covenant with God, then the end of your life is going to lead to your eternal death. That is the epitome of foolishness. So you're never going to experience the fullness of wisdom apart from this. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. True wisdom, full wisdom, complete wisdom grows only in the context of relationship with God. True education begins with the affirmation that God is alive, that He is real, and that He is active in the daily affairs of life. He is there, and He is not silent. That is where a true education begins. For by me, verse 11, Woman Wisdom says, your days will be multiplied and the years of your life will be added to you. Again, it's the emphasis of life. And again, this is a general principle here saying that it's another promise of life for those who seek wisdom. The likelihood of having the fullness of life is exponentially increased if you follow the path of wisdom. If you are wise, now look at this, verse 12. This is a great verse. If you're wise, you are wise for yourself. And if you scoff, you alone will bear it. Now look at that again. If you're wise, you are wise for yourself. If you scoff, you alone will bear it. It's a statement of individual responsibility, and it is a perfect way to for woman wisdom to end her appeal, to pursue her, to listen to her. Individual responsibility. There are so many people, it's all around us. They want to avoid personal responsibility. But this is saying, whatever you choose, you're responsible for it. Listen, if you choose to pursue wisdom, good choice. You chose wisely, and you're responsible for that. And you can thank a lot of people who maybe influenced you in your life, and there are people who can influence you and have influenced you in your life, but at the end of the day, you made the choice to pursue woman wisdom. And at the end of the day, if you choose woman folly, you can't look back and point to everyone in your life who failed to enlighten you. And there may be plenty of people who failed to enlighten you, but there were probably plenty of people who tried to enlighten you. And you just refused to listen to wisdom and instruction. And so at the end of the day, you alone are responsible for your direction in life and the consequences of that direction. Individual responsibility is what verse 12 is all about. Okay, let's look at verses 13 through 18 now. Woman folly's appeal. Okay, well, we know what woman wisdom has to offer. Come, choose my way. I'm going to train you. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to take the wisdom that you demonstrated in choosing me, and I'm going to make you even wiser unto life. Length of days and life will be yours. Okay, sounds pretty good. Well, woman folly, what do you offer? And here's what she's going to say. Oh, I offer you a good time. I offer you adventure. I offer you fun. How does that sound? That's what she offers. Let's take a look at it. Verse 13. The woman of folly is boisterous. She is naive and knows nothing. She's loud and boisterous. Look at this. She doesn't know anything. She sits at the doorway of her house. Remember what it said about woman wisdom? She builds her house. She's prepared her food. She's made a banquet. And that's what the banquet represents, by the way. I don't even know if I told you that. This whole banquet, all this food and drink, it represents health and life and celebration. But you won't find that in woman folly. She doesn't build a house. She doesn't prepare a meal. She's on the seat of high places of the city, and she's calling to those who pass by, who are making their path straight. Here's what she's offering. Whoever is naive, let him turn in here. And to him who lacks understanding, she says, here's what she says. Here's what I got to offer you. Stolen water is sweet. and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. I'm going to offer you an exhilarating life. It's going to be so fun. There aren't going to be moral boundaries. Stolen water is sweet. See, woman wisdom, she's going to tell you what you can do and what you can't do, and some things are off limits, and she's just trying to take the zest out of life. It's going to be boring and it's going to be miserable, but you come my way. I don't recognize those boundaries. We're just going to have fun. Whatever you want to do, by all means, give it a shot. Stolen water is sweet. Bread eaten in secret is pleasant. Well, that sounds good too. Yeah, but you can't leave out verse 18. But he does not know that the dead are there. That her guests are in the depths of Sheol. Sheol being the Hebrew word for the grave. There are two choices. Woman wisdom, and there's life. Woman folly, and there is death. Good this way, wisdom. Bad this way, folly. Yeah, I know you see the exhilaration and the fun and the adventure, okay? No moral boundaries this way. Okay, you see that, but let me tell you what's at the end of it. Death, bad stuff, eternal separation from God. So there's the choice. There's the choice. So it's a great way to end this first section. The choice is yours. You're responsible for it. The way of wisdom, the way of folly. Life or death. Make your choice. Choose life. Choose wisdom. Okay, look at chapter 10 now. As we get into chapter 10, it starts the Proverbs portion. Now, I know what you may be thinking. You may be thinking, what do you mean Proverbs portion? I thought we'd been in Proverbs for 9 chapters already, almost a third of the book. Well, we have, but the first 9 chapters really don't have a lot of Proverbs. That is a discourse section where there's just teaching by way of discourse and instruction, kind of like a lecture. But now we're getting into chapter 10, and what we're going to start seeing more are the genre of Proverbs, like our proverb, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. That's a proverb. Where we're going to see these little pithy wisdom sayings, a lot more of these now that we're starting with chapter 10. Now, the first 5 verses of chapter 10 really is all about thriving family life. And thriving family life is going to depend on the wisdom of the children. And the idea here is as they grow up. And the idea here is that as the parents grow older and the children take responsibility for the family, if those children act in wisdom, it's going to be a blessing to the family. If they act according to folly, it's going to be disastrous for the family. Take a look at it. Verse 1. A wise son makes a father glad, but a foolish son is a grief to his mother. Now, again, don't read that in isolation. We can say, well, that's talking about even, kids, little kids. Well, but you can't read it in isolation. Let's just keep reading. Ill-gotten gains do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death. The Lord will not allow the righteous to go hunger, but he will reject the craving of the wicked. Poor is he who works with a negligent hand, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. He who gathers in summer is a son who acts wisely, but he who sleeps in harvest is a son who acts shamefully. Okay, see that? The son here in verse 5 is tied to the son in verse 1. This is the son who is gathering in the summer. He's working diligently, or the son who acts shamefully, who's lazy and indifferent. And so, again, this picture here in verses 1 through 5 is the picture of a generation who has passed on wisdom to their offspring, parents who've done that. and their offspring have embraced wisdom. Now, not all offspring embrace wisdom. Everybody comes to that crossroads, folly and wisdom, and they've all got to make a choice. Some choose wisdom, some choose folly. Now, the children who grow up and choose wisdom, it's going to be great for the family. It's just a blessing to the family. The family's not going to collapse. The dad and mom are going to be awfully proud of the wisdom of their grown children and the strength of the family, because they're not lazy, they're diligent, they're not criminals, they're righteous, they're hard workers. So you take a look at it. Verse 2, ill-gotten gains do not profit. So see, the emphasis here is on the economic aspect of a child's responsibility. Wise children aren't going to squander the family estate. Foolish children are. Ill-gotten gains do not profit. That is, evil behavior brings bad consequences. But righteousness delivers from death. Righteousness has great consequences. The Lord will not allow the righteous to go hungry. Listen, you're going to be blessed if you are a righteous person. Good behavior has good consequences. But He will reject the craving of the wicked. God's going to ultimately provide for His people. But poor is he who works with a negligent hand. You're lazy and, good for nothing, and there's going to be consequences. But the hand of the diligent makes rich. But, you're not lazy and you're hard working. There's going to be good consequences. He who gathers in the summer is the son who acts wisely. Who sleeps in the harvest is the son who acts shamefully. So again, the emphasis here is on how families will continue to thrive as the next generation chooses the path of wisdom rather than folly. Okay, look at verse 6. Blessings are on the head of the righteousness, of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. I'll tell you what, let's read through verse 6 through 11, because this is all about an important mark of wicked people, and that is deceitfulness. The righteous secure their place in the world, but a life of deception offers nothing. It offers nothing but eventually being detected and eventually being disgraced. Almost everyone who goes down that path of deception, it's going to catch up to him. That's the point. Let's read it. Verses 6 to 11. Blessings are on the head of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence, deceit. The memory of the righteous is blessed. People remember good people of integrity, but the name of the wicked will rot. There are consequences to deceptive people. The wise of the heart will receive commands, but a babbling fool will be ruined. Again, deceitful people will ultimately pay the price. He who walks within integrity walks securely. Verse 9, but he who perverts his ways will be found out. Look, you can't hide it forever. Verse 10, he who winks the eye causes trouble. That's deception, the winking of the eye. And a babbling fool will be ruined. The mouth of the righteous is the fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. So you see the same themes over and over again. If you want to be a righteous person, it begins with integrity. You make this commitment that you are going to be a person of deep integrity in all of your interactions. You are going to be bone deep honest. And if you're not committed to that, there will be consequences in life. It is going to lead to nothing. Deception will lead to nothing but ultimate detection and ultimate ruin and destruction. Verse 12 rather. Hatred stirs up strife. Here's a great proverb. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all transgressions. What this is all about, teaching is that it's teaching forbearance and a forgiving spirit. Have a forgiving spirit. Be patient with people. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all transgressions. Personal relationships will be incredibly enhanced with a forgiving spirit. That's every personal relationship. Husband and wife, parents and kids, siblings, church members, friends, family, co-workers, colleagues, you name it. A forgiving spirit will bless a relationship. Verse 13 and 14. On the lips of the discerning wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of him who lacks understanding. Wise men store up knowledge, but with the mouth of the foolish ruin is at hand. Verse 13 and 14, this is all about wise people use their tongues carefully, but fools just bring suffering on themselves with their mouth. Look at it again. On the lips of the discerning wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of him who lacks understanding. You know, people who can't control their mouth are always going to get themselves into trouble. Wise men store up knowledge, but with the mouth of the foolish, ruin is at hand. Man, people who are foolish, they open their mouths and they just mess themselves up royally. And so be careful with your mouth. Use your words wisely. Verses 13 through 16, let's take a look at it. The rich man's wealth is his fortress. The ruin of the poor is their poverty. The wages of the righteous is life. The income of the wicked is punishment. He is on the path of life who heeds instruction, but he who ignores reproof goes astray. Well, let's just stop there. We should have stopped at verse 16, verse 15 and 16. Look at verse 15 again. The rich man's wealth is in his fortress. The ruin of the poor is their poverty. You know what that says? That says it's better to be rich than poor. Really? It's better to have money than no money. The rich man's wealth is his fortress. The ruin of the poor is their poverty. It ain't good being broke. It's a lot better having money. Duh. But now, we all know that. And verse 16 provides a moral qualification of all of that. The wages of the righteous is life. The income of the wicked is punishment. Money, in other words, can provide a measure of protection. It's better to have money than no money at all. That's wisdom. That's true. So while money may provide a measure of protection, if it was gained dishonestly, then it's going to bring a death sentence with it. And that's what the income of the wicked is going to bring punishment. Yeah, it's better to have money than not have money. But if you got your money in an immoral way, in a wrong way, then that's not good. That's not any better. That's going to bring ultimately punishment there. Verse 17 is an exhortation to follow the example of the wise. Take a look at it. He is on the path of life who heeds instructions, but he who ignores reproof goes astray. Again, don't go down that way of folly. Go down that way of wisdom. Come on. Life there is there. Life is there. Look at verse 18. This is a kind of a tough one. He who conceals hatred has lying lips. He who spreads slander is a fool. This seems to be a contrast that's really not captured in a lot of translations. The idea of the word concealed here is not concealed in the sense of maliciously hiding something, but this is in the sense of forgiving something. He who forgives a hatred it says lying lips. There's some really dispute there about that word. The Septuagint, which is the Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament, the word here is righteous. He who conceals, that is, forgives hatred, has righteous lips. The idea here is, again, we saw that earlier there in verse 12, love covers all transgressions. But he who spreads slander is a fool. The wise person, in other words, it seems to be saying, overlooks offenses and forgives offenses and tries to put an end to a quarrel. They don't pour gasoline on a quarrel. They put water on it. But he who spreads slander is a fool. They inflame things. Foolish people inflame things. Well, listen, how about just a few more minutes? I know we're at 29 minutes, but let's take a look at this, verses 19 through 21. The theme is the use of the tongue. We can cover this pretty quick. The theme of the use of the tongue, and to be careful who you listen to. Take a look at it. Verse 19. When there are many words, transgression is unavoidable. Be careful in speaking. The more you speak, the more likely you're going to get in trouble. Whew. I'm a talker, and I found myself down that path more often than I want it. But he who restrains his lips is wise. Think before you speak is the idea. Think before you speak. The tongue of the righteous is as choice silver. The heart of the wicked is worth little. The lips of the righteous feed many, but the fools die for lack of understanding. Again, the tongue can be so powerful to enrich people, enrich relationships. And the words can be destructive. And that's what it's saying here. Verses 22 through 25, only through righteousness and wisdom, the theme is, can real security in life be recognized? Take a look at it. Begin in verse 22. It is the blessing of the Lord that makes rich, and He adds no sorrow to it. Doing wickedness is like sport to a fool, and so is wisdom to a man of understanding. What the wicked fears will come upon him, but the desire of the righteous will be granted. When the whirlwind passes, the wicked is no more, but the righteous has an everlasting foundation. Wickedness and righteousness. Only through righteousness and wisdom is there going to be real security in life. There are going to be fears and consequences that will come upon the wicked. Verse 26, like vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes, so is the lazy one to those who send him. That's a great image. No, I don't understand vinegar to the teeth as much. I know that the idea here is things that make if you have sensitive teeth, some things can just be painful, like cold ice or water. If there's you got receding gums or something. That's the imagery here. It's irritating. I do get smoke to the eyes. I like to camp out, and I know how smoke to the eyes, man, it is just irritating. It's a picture of irritating. He says, lazy one, this is what a lazy person is to the person who sends him. In other words, unreliable people are irritating. That's why nobody likes to hire unreliable people. Unreliable people have a hard time keeping a job because it is vexing. But man, I'm telling you what, a reliable person, wow, what a gift. You almost can't pay a reliable person enough. But boy, unreliable people, they are irritating. Look at verse 27. The fear of the Lord prolongs life. The years of the wicked will be shortened. Again, that's that general statement again. It's not an ironclad guarantee. But if you choose the path of wisdom, the likelihood of living longer and better is enhanced. Verse 28. The hope of the righteous is gladness, but the expectation of the wicked perish. This is great. The hope of the righteous is gladness. Righteous people don't see life as a bitter disappointment. Our hopes are going to be fulfilled. Listen, I know there's a lot of things that frustrate and disappoint us. Believe me, I know. I could spend a long time talking about this. But at the end of the day, those who are righteous, and that righteousness, remember, begins chapter 9 and verse 10 with fear of the Lord. Those who are righteous don't see life as a bitter disappointment. Life is what it is. But what we know is that our hope is ultimately going to be fulfilled. It's great. But the expectation of the wicked perishes. Their hopes will never be fulfilled. Their hopes will never be fulfilled, the wicked. Verse 29, the way of the Lord is a stronghold to the upright, but ruin to the workers of iniquity. That is God's moral governance. God's governing me and the world is security. No, the way of the Lord is a stronghold to the upright. It is so encouraging to know that my God is in charge. No matter what happens in this world, no matter what it looks like, my God is in charge. He is not impotent. He has not been sidelined. He is there and He is not silent and He is in charge. The way of the Lord is a stronghold to the upright, but a ruin to the workers of iniquity. And He will eventually avenge His people, bless the righteous, and punish the wicked. Look at verse 30. The righteous will never be shaken. That implies long life, a sense of belonging, family heritage. But the wicked will not dwell in the land. Ultimately, all the blessings of eternal life, all of it will go to the people of God. They will dwell in the land. The idea here, the imagery behind it is the promised land. All good will go to the people of God, the one who pursues wisdom. The mouth of the righteous, look at verse 31, flows with wisdom, but the perverted tongue will be cut out. The theme again here returns back to the use of the tongue. Wow, he's had a lot to say about the use of the tongue here in chapter 10. And this, the tongue's going to be cut out is a metaphor for either community rejection or divine punishment. The perverted tongue will be cut out. The lips of the righteous bring forth what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked, what is perverted. Our words, James talks about it. It's such a tiny muscle, and yet it can do great things, or it can do great damage. Well, listen, I have so thoroughly enjoyed our look at chapter 9 and chapter 10. I hope you have as well. Oh, excuse me very much. And Lord willing, we'll pick up there at chapter 11 next week. Until then, I hope you stay well. I hope you stay healthy. God bless, and hopefully I'll see you soon.